When I tell you the Philippou brothers are the real deal, they're the real deal. Watching Bring Her Back, there is a level of filmmaking that I didn't expect these brothers to do. The biggest thing for me in this movie is the emotional connection this film has. We look at this film as a horror film, but when you leave, you feel a sadness. Films like that are so grounded, that have a level of violence and horror that's surrounded, is so much scarier.
Bring Her Back is just one of those movies that I haven't stopped thinking about. It has such a beautiful story. It has such fantastic horror. The scares are genuine. The feeling is genuine. The emotions you go through are absolutely genuine. And what Bring Her Back does in the filmography of these two brothers is it really elevates their entire filmmaking style. And this is going to only come from someone like the Philippou brothers, Danny and Michael, who are just geniuses, like absolute geniuses. Hello and welcome to the Movie Podcast. My name is Shahbaz, and joining alongside me today, he's been brought back many, many times, and he keeps coming. You know what? I'll be honest, I'm not sure who's still bringing him back. It's Anthony. Anthony, how you doing?
I'm doing good. I don't know who's bringing me back. I just want to stay dead.
I'm just dead inside. Let me say that way, please.
If you can see inside me right now,
it's just black. Oh, no, Anthony, please. How you doing today, man?
I'm doing good. I'm excited to talk about this movie because I think when we left the theater, we were like, we have to do a review for this film.
This is one of those movies where we were so in shock after watching it in like the best way possible. We were like, that was a really fucking good movie. And we just couldn't like comprehend the film properly. We're like, we need to take a couple days, let's think about it, and then come back to this film because, yeah. And you know what? We had a very similar experience when we watched these directors' first film, which I think is a more, I don't know, maybe that's a more fucked up movie than this one. But I don't know. We'll get all into it. Of course, we're the Movie Podcast. You can follow us and subscribe to us everywhere podcasts are available. Our show notes down below have all of that information, including where you can join our Discord as well. If you want to talk about movies like the one that we're talking about today, the Discord spot is the best place available because there are spoiler rooms, there are people just chatting up about films, and they're from all around the world. So that's a really good place to be. I also want to give a huge shout out to our friends over at Elevation Pictures for inviting us to come watch this movie and also for talking to the directors and cast of this film. When you usually see on a sheet, Anthony, like all the names that are going to be in an interview, you start to worry. You're like, oh, that's way too many people. Are we going to get enough time? How many questions are we going to get out? And also, do we need to talk to everybody? Sometimes you kind of wonder, like, is everyone important, or is it just like, are we going to get the right information out of the right people? I'm so grateful that we got the opportunity to speak to everybody in this film. Because this is a phenomenal cast. Spoilers for a review, and they're all so damn good in it, and our interview is a lot of fun. We do talk a lot about, they prank us in the interview, and if you watch the video version, that's kind of like one of the best ways to see it. Anthony, any takeaways from our interview?
I love the Philippou brothers. I think they interview well. I think they are chaotic, and when you have five of them, five people, and these two brothers together, you know it's going to be off the wall wildness. Also, the prank on me, if you look at my face, I don't even know I'm being pranked because I don't gauge pranks well, or even like I don't gauge jokes well, especially virtually. So you can see my face, and when I say I was honest to God telling the truth, I didn't know this was supposed to be a whole joke.
I was like, oh, maybe that's just how they do it in Australia. We were just there not long ago, and we totally did not appreciate their culture.
I didn't see anyone eating them either, so I just
I didn't see. I didn't have one. Maybe that's a fault of my own. Maybe I was not, appreciating their culture properly. But we had Daniel who was in the room with us, and I just remember him looking at us and going, what the fuck was your interview about? Why did you guys say that? And we're like, Daniel, I think they pulled a prank on us. So yeah, it was a really, really good time, and really go check out that interview. That interview is with the directors of this movie, which is called Bring Her Back, which I haven't really gone into, but I'm going to say the name of the movie. It's Bring Her Back. Directors have talked to me, directors of Bring Her Back, Danny and Michael Philippou, the Raka Raka, the brothers here, they're just killing it. and also the cast: Billy Barratt, who plays Andy, Jonah Wren Phillips, who plays Oliver, and Sora Wong, who plays Piper. We had them all. The interview went so off the rails. We had so many questions. We wanted to ask them so many different things, and we didn't get the time to. But hopefully, we get to speak to these amazing people again down the road, because what a film. I feel like we could talk about this film for hours and hours and hours, Anthony.
It's a different type of horror. I can say that. Like, it's a different type of horror, something that you haven't experienced before.
100%. I think that was also our reaction with Talk to Me as well. But huge shout out to our friends over at Elevation Pictures for inviting us to come watch this movie and also to do this interview. Our experience of watching this movie, which we kind of go into in our interview, was really, really entertaining. They had a whole medium there. They had creepy music. They had VHS cassettes playing creepy videos that we just didn't have any context for. Then when you watch the movie, we're like, oh, I get why this is happening. There was just so much going on. It was very terrifying. Before we got into the film, I was already like, I am dreading watching this movie.
You know, I knew from the first film that they did, this one wasn't going to be, a slower paced or less scary film. They were going to, up their game. But the whole presentation going in, anything that plays on like a tube TV that's VHS that has tracking issues, it's already frightening. Like, you just think of The Ring. They think of like,
it was scary enough when you were a kid. You're like, oh man, my TV's not working.
Yeah, like it's something about that whole setup that always like, yeah, I don't feel safe here. And it just adding those elements to the whole experience of watching this film just added to the scare level of how frightening it was to watch.
Absolutely. Well, let's get into our review. Anthony, please kick us off with your first reactions to Bring Her Back.
When I tell you the Philippou brothers are the real deal, they're the real fucking deal. Because I'm telling you, this is their second film, and watching Bring Her Back, there is a level of maturity, there's a level of filmmaking that I'm lost for words to say, because they're just so good. And it's just like, it's actually shocking that it took them this long to make films. I didn't know much about their YouTube channel, but they were making movies and small stuff beforehand. And when they brought out Talk to Me, which was a phenomenal hit, it was scary. The eeriness, the frightenedness, the body horror of it, that was like, we left the theater saying, geez, like, this was a fantastic film. I did not expect this to be what we got. But coming out of Bring Her Back, it's another level of filmmaking that I didn't expect these brothers to do. It's a horror movie, but it's really drama, and it's about loss. And there are elements that are very similar to Talk to Me that we pointed out in the film. But when you have a cast, very small cast, very connected, we'll say the chemistry is very sharp between everyone involved. Sally Hawkins, Billy Barratt, Sora Wong, and Jonah Wren Phillips, who are the main cast of this movie. They're so good together. And when you have this brother and sister dynamic between Andy and Piper, and they are brought into this home that's supposed to be taking care of them, and then there's sinister things that are happening in this home. And Sally Hawkins, who's a chameleon, she is so good. She has, the title says a lot about her character, but she will do anything to get someone back. They don't really dive into the lore of it. It's just how scary it could be. And when I say that the cinematography in this film is on another level, it's on another level. Australia, I know we've said some wild things about your country, but you make great films. You have great talent. We joke about the being killed by all the different animals out there, but I'm telling you, you guys are great filmmakers. It's amazing to watch on the big screen.
Yeah, I think I want to jump off one of the points that you kind of said there. You talked about maturity, and when I think about what Bring Her Back does in the filmography of these two brothers, is it really elevates their entire filmmaking style Talk to Me has a very party going, raw, grunge kind of feel to it. Like the film feels, and I'm using air quotes here, dirty the entire time. And that's the exact vibe they're trying to go for. It's just this uncomfortable, settling feeling. Bring Her Back, in a way, it's very polished. It looks very clean. It looks very beautiful. And you talk about the cinematography, it looks stunning. And I think the element of how mature it is also kind of throws you off a little bit, because you're just kind of like, well, what do they have in store for me when I'm watching this movie? What are they going to actually pull off? And there are some moments to Talk to Me, and this is a spoilers for Talk to Me here, like where we have the brother in the bathroom being possessed, and he's ripping out his eye and smacking his head, and all that's happening. And it was really difficult to watch. There's a certain moment in this movie, and we're not going to get into spoilers, in Bring Her Back, where there is something equally, I think, as graphic happening, but the way the Philippou brothers have tackled it is they've made it so nonchalant. They've made what's happening on screen to you just feel as natural to the character as it should. And when you're viewing that experience, you're just feeling the dread inside. It's a very bleak film. I think when you look back to you look at Bring Her Back and you look at Talk to Me, Bring Her Back is a lot more bleak. It's a lot more subdued. It starts with a death right away. It goes from death to loss to the grieving through this gaslighting effect. And I think someone like Sally Hawkins is probably the only person that can pull off this character I've never hated somebody in a movie as much as Sally Hawkins' character here. She's so horrible as Laura. She's just such an awful, awful person. But again, that's what we're seeing. And to the cast, they're seeing this, amazingly beautiful and fun, loving mother character who just has some dark, dark secrets. And one of the things I also love about this movie, it starts off kind of giving you a little bit of context as to the plot device behind it all. Because obviously this movie is about a mother wanting to bring back somebody, and that is the loss of their child. They're trying to bring that back. And when you have the opening sequence kind of like showing you the procession of what I guess bringing somebody back from the dead looks like, it starts off with saying, look, this is not a cult. And that's kind of all you need to go based off of. There's enough given to you that maybe after 2 or 3 watches, you'll really understand it. But I think on the first watch, you kind of just get the gist of how the process works. And that's what I love about this movie. It's not boring you to death with exposition. It's giving you exactly what you need to know to enjoy the film. And this is not a very jump scare heavy film. This is a movie that will make you feel scared just watching it based on the environment that it's in. And you have a phenomenal cast. I think when you look to Billy Barratt, who plays Andy, even though he's a troubled child, our first introduction to him is with his sister Piper, played by the amazing Sora Wong. And they have such great chemistry. You buy that. Anthony and I were just saying, they're so good together. I totally believe it. And Billy, as Andy, is such a good older brother. And I loved their relationship. I loved just watching them on screen. I felt so much safer when I watched them just on the screen. And then you get an introduction to someone like Jonah Wren Phillips, who plays Oliver, who, these three are an absolute trio of performances. I enjoyed them so much. And Jonah as Oliver, I don't know. I think this guy's going to need a lot of therapy as he's growing older.
Yeah, that's what we said. He's like, this kid has gone through a lot in this, 2-hour film, probably however many weeks it took to film it. But what he was doing on screen and his performance, it reminded me of something like Linda Blair in The Exorcist. Getting a kid to 100%. Perform things that not normal kids do. I don't think this is as extreme as The Exorcist, but I think there are points in this film where you're just like, yeah, he's doing that. Yep. And he doesn't really talk that much. Like his performance is all action, like a physical action. So it's the stare, it's the look, it's the
walk.
This kid did it all, and I'm blown away by it. A big thing for me coming out of this film is, we watch a lot of horror, and I think last year was a great year in horror. This year is a great year in horror. I think horror has kind of stepped up its game because of the prior years of being a little campy or not really scaring people enough. And the biggest thing for me in this movie is the emotional connection this film has. Like, we look at this film as a horror film, but when you leave, you feel a sadness. Not that you were scared, but the levels of what this mother will go through to bring her back, right? And I think films like that are so grounded, that have a level of violence and horror that surround it, is so much scarier than just going and watching a slasher film. It is that emotional connection where I felt for Sally Hawkins' character. Like, even at the end, I felt for her. Like, oh, what would I do in a situation like that, right?
I hope I wouldn't go to that depth, though.
I know.
I get it. I know. I get what she went through.
And you said, like, I hated her. You said that I disliked her so much. And it's like, yeah, you dislike a character like that so much, but there is a level of empathy you have for this person because of the trauma they go through. And the connection between Sora and Billy, there is such an innocence to it. They go through a tragic event in their life, and they're bonded even stronger because of it. But here is this person that's going to abuse it and use it against them, and it hurts even more, because it's like, damn, like they're just kids, like they've already gone through trauma, and they're gonna go through more trauma. That's how, like, as you think about this film, that's how deep it can really get,
the emotions, really.
Like, it really gets deep in terms of the story and how much it really affects you as a viewer.
And I think that's so important when we talk about how a movie's supposed to kind of make you feel by the end of it. I think when you walk out, a lot of horror movies use this. Like, I think back to one of my favorite experiences was watching Barbarian, where I walked out of it and I was like just jittery all over, like, what the hell did I just watch? And I came out to like broad daylight, because our press screening was in the morning, and I was like, oh my God, how am I supposed to continue my day after watching that? We watched this one in the evening, we watched this one at night, and we came out of the screening, and I was just kind of like, I felt this heaviness in me, but it wasn't to the point where I was like, oh, I'm done. Like, I need to let go. I was just so reflective, I think, and it made me appreciate and cherish a lot more of just the people in my life. And I think about how this movie just absolutely nails emotions, because 1 minute you're watching the most horrific sequence occur on screen, but you want to cry as well because of the situation that's occurring. Like, at the end of this film, I was so teary-eyed. I was so emotional, because I was like, I can't, like, these are the characters. I've fallen in love with them. I'm gonna miss them. Like, they've created something so phenomenal. And I don't think there's any horror movie that I've really ever seen where the audience was just stunned at the end, and you can tell they were just on the verge of tears because of how beautiful this movie is. It does a phenomenal job of tackling that.
Yeah, and the audience is also very reaction based. Like, we heard a lot of like, oh my gosh, like, like those types of things.
Yeah,
and it's
rightfully so.
It's funny because when you look at the Philippou brothers, these guys, the movie that we got does not feel like the movie they would direct. And not saying anything against their filming, just saying that these guys are literally fighting each other on set or fighting each other in interviews like kids, and you don't expect the level of emotional intelligence that we got in this film, that they were able to produce. And that's why I said, like, they're so good. Like, what do they have in store for us? And it sucks that they're not doing Street Fighter, because I think Street Fighter would have been up their alley. I think that would have been a great great franchise for them to like even go more extreme in terms of the visuals, because the visuals in this, a lot of it's practical. The audio, like we talked about, audio design in this is so good.
Yeah. It was one of the first times I think they said working in Dolby Atmos, and you hear it, man. I mean, I don't think we watched it in Dolby Atmos in the theater that we were in, but just hearing that sound the whole time, I was like, oh God, like I'm hearing it in my brain. And Yeah, they've leveled up so hard that you can't even anticipate what the next film is. Like I would love for the next movie to be horror, but then when I think about what they can do with so many genres, I look at, we look at what could have been Street Fighter. It pains me to not know. I wish we could have known what their version of Street Fighter would be like. But yeah, man, like just what a phenomenal film. What an amazing cast. Great performances all around. Is there anything else you want to touch on, Anthony, before we kind of give our final recommendations?
No, I think we're good to go.
Please kick us off then.
This is a definite watch it. I think it's actually, I'm not even saying it's a watch it. It's a real gem. I think this was a movie I didn't have, like when I left the theater, I did not expect the way or to feel the way I left. It was a movie that I wanted to watch right away again. It is a film that it gives you that emotional connection and is surrounded by horror, and it's very experimental. But like even the Philippou brothers said, it's there's a lot of things that we took from Korean cinema that works well. Like what's the movie Memories of a Murder? That comedy that's kind of surrounded by drama and horror, where this is more of that emotional connection surrounded by drama and horror. So I think films like this is what like stands out. A24, you guys again killed it with the Philippou brothers. I think this film is going to be a movie that a lot of people talk about, and we'll have a lot of questions, especially the ending, and is it connected to Talk to Me? And that's something that we didn't get to ask, but does this world take place in the same world as Talk to Me? And I think what they're creating is fantastic.
Bring Her Back is just one of those movies that I haven't stopped thinking about. And like you said, Anthony, the second we got out of it, I actually wanted to watch it again. Like I was that convinced that like I need to see this movie one more time. I went home, I rewatched the trailers. I was trying to pick things apart. I tried showing my wife. She was like, "Don't ever show me this again because this is terrifying." It has such a beautiful story. It has such fantastic horror. It never tries to like give you the cheap scares. The scares are genuine. The feeling is genuine. The emotions you go through are absolutely genuine. And this is going to only come from someone like the Philippou brothers, Danny and Michael, who are just geniuses, like absolute geniuses. I'm so excited to see what they do next. But you're absolutely right, man. Bring Her Back is 100% a real gem. I don't know if this is our first real gem of the year, but holy crap.
I think so.
This is a movie it's a movie I'm going to be thinking about for a very, very long time. I believe that it's better than Talk to Me, and I loved Talk to Me. I think this movie supersedes it just based on how much more mature it is, how well they've crafted their game. This is that movie. So yeah. Thank you to our friends over at Elevation Pictures for inviting us to watch this movie and talking to these lovely cast and directors. What a film. Bring Her Back will be available in theaters May 30th. If you do, go watch it. Join our Discord. Comment below. Let us know what you thought of the film, how terrified you were, what you thought of certain moments, and how it made you feel. Of course, that was This Time at the Movie podcast, and we'll see you next.